He tells Judge the detective is lying.
24-year-old Jacksonville rapper K Shorty has been surrounded by violence his entire life. As a documented member of Fulio's 6-block gang, he's already serving a 12-year prison sentence for having a rifle after being shot. On top of that, he's facing a murder charge and his trial is coming up soon. On September 28, 2021, Xavier Mays, aka 187 No Face, was ambushed and shot in the head at a gas station in Jacksonville. Spenna Benz, another Jacksonville rapper and rival of K Shorty, was in the car during the shooting, but managed to jump out and run for his life. Once the detectives identified the victims, they knew it was a gang-related shooting, and they say K Shorty, whose real name Therese Powell, was the gunman. Jacoby Sykes, aka Tufo, was also charged in the murder. Sykes' mother, Donetta Perry, aka Nene, was also charged with tampering with a witness and accessory after the fact. She owned the Range Rover they allegedly used in the murder and picked up her son after the murder. K Shorty was pulled over in the same Range Rover a week prior, and detectives say a cell phone, allegedly belonging to K Shorty, had photos and data connecting him to the area around the time of the murder. At about 9:52 p.m., over 5 hours after the shooting, detectives from JSO located a black Range Rover parked outside of a recording studio. The Range Rover was a possible suspect vehicle in the shooting earlier that day. 2 subjects got into the vehicle and left the studio. When officers attempted to stop the Range Rover, it took off and fled. Soon after, it crashed at the intersection of Odell Street and Cocoa Avenue. The 2 suspects in the vehicle attempted to flee and then laid down in a field and were handcuffed. They were identified as Therese Powell and Loreno Span, aka Lil Cracka. K Shorty looked up to Fulio growing up in the Hilltop Village apartments. He was also close friends with Adrian Gaynor, aka Bibby, who was chased down and killed execution style, allegedly by Queso in 2019, which Queso has not gone to trial for yet. Before the alleged murder of No Face, K Shorty was the target of multiple retaliatory shootings. On 2 different occasions, he was shot but survived. On March 19, 2020, K Shorty was on a date with his girlfriend Anandi. She was driving him home when a gray vehicle pulled up in front of Anandi's car. 2 men hopped out and began firing at their car. The sheriff's office were called out to the scene for a report of gunfire. When they arrived, Anandi was pronounced dead at the scene, while K Shorty was found shot inside of the vehicle. He was rushed to a local hospital where he was treated and released. Roland Ball Jr. and Xavier Porter were both charged in the murder. Xavier Porter was linked to the case after text messages were recovered in which he was planning to murder K Shorty. In Porter's text messages, he explained that he and other co-conspirators killed Anandi, but she was not the intended target. He's quoted saying, "Look though gang, I got one under my belt. K Shorty's girlfriend, me and my brothers did that cause Therese killed my brother." Porter believes that K Shorty killed Daquan Saxton 2 days prior. Paperwork shows K Shorty signed a picture of Roland Ball, identifying him as the person who shot him, but then later took back his statement. I have access to personal letters he wrote directly to the judge in which he says that he's being framed by the detective. Alright boys, so I've never made a video on this guy, but I think he's going to trial very soon. It could even be this month, but I'm seeing like no one talking about it. This trial's supposedly been delayed a bunch, but he has written some letters to the judges because he thinks he's being framed. His handwriting's actually pretty good. It's just faded in some places because they scanned it. So the evidence they have against him is his phone tracking. He was in the car previously. He was arrested fleeing from the car. There's spent shell casings in the car. And I can't remember if there's any weapons recovered or anything. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but we'll see in the trial, I'm guessing, if it's streamed. Dear Honorable Judge Kevin Baez, on April 18th, 24, you brought me in front of the court because you said you felt like you didn't give me an opportunity to speak. But being that I didn't have a lawyer present, you recommended I not speak. So I chose not to speak momentarily because on 4/10/24, you misrepresented a remark I made and took it as a threat, which landed me in confinement with phone restrictions for an exceeded time frame, which is why I took your advice and didn't speak without representation on 4/18. Okay. So he's saying previously he must have mumbled something or said something to the judge that the judge didn't like, and the judge got mad at him, and then he got put in confinement. So he hasn't been able to talk to anyone on the phone. So that's what his complaint is. I'm now aware that there is a deadline on May 2nd, 2024 to my complaint, and my lawyers have advised me that being present comes with a traveling fee I can't afford. Oh no, you can't afford something? So Your Honor, I'm risking? When you receive this letter, you find my reason good enough to talk to me in front of the court to handle the situation. If there's any reason you don't receive this letter in time to hear me and make a ruling before the deadline, I'm going to attach my complaint to this letter so that you would at least have time for a ruling. Thank you sincerely, Therese Powell. This guy like all professional with the way he's like writing everything out. That's funny. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. I appreciate the support. Back to the video, boys. Your Honor, I brought it across with my attorney yesterday on how the state is relying on tainted evidence to convict me in trial. Lead Detective Howard Saunders is responsible for this and is intentionally creating this tainted evidence to help build a case. I've looked into the arrest affidavit, which is a conclusion of evidence the state has presented. It shows reasons for probable cause number 1, a phone ping. Saunders testifies that the particular phone that's reasonable for ping on the scene belongs to me. Now, AT&T Mobile states this phone attached to the number provided by Saunders has no subscriber. So he takes it upon his discretion to create something witnesses, the writing's messed up, to trace me back to the phone. These witnesses are Marquita Jones and Tamaya Bradley. He states both witnesses told him they were with me 9/27/21, a day before the homicide, rolling into the day of the homicide, and communicate with me on a phone number attached to the phone. That's how he knows it belongs to me. Your Honor, I can assure you if you were to call Marquita Jones, she would tell you she is the girlfriend of the victim. Has never crossed paths with me in my life. What? Hold on. So this girl, Marquita Jones and Tamaya Bradley, apparently told this detective that they were with him the day before the homicide. But now he's saying he's never even met her. And why would he be with her? Because she's the victim's girlfriend. What? That actually does make no sense if that's true, but... Or he's talking to his ops girl, which apparently is a very common thing I've seen in other cases. Which he shouldn't have to say because Saunders contradicts his testimony in his incident report by saying, Marquita Jones at my office, she told me that an unnamed friend told her that she saw an Instagram live from Juju in which he claimed responsibility for the homicide. Miss Jones recognized the name K. Shordy, referring to me, and said it was someone who Xavier mentioned in connection with a dispute between neighborhoods. In other words, she doesn't know me, and she only knows of me because I hang around people she hangs around doesn't like. So that's clearly a false intentional statement by the detective, followed by the second witness, Tamaya Bradley's testimony in deposition saying she knows me, but doesn't recall saying that or recognize any number from me, which means Saunders was granted a search warrant with false information followed by more false allegations. So what I'm getting from this, I have a feeling this judge is going to read this and be like, dude, this is all for your trial. This judge ain't going to give a fuck. He's going to be like, dude, I'm sorry. You're going to have to fight all this in trial. He states in the affidavit, I was pulled over in a Range Rover 9 days prior to the incident. Remember, I said that earlier in the video. The Range Rover that was used in the murder, he was pulled over in it, apparently 9 days before. Let's see what his defense is here. He knows due to a field report documented by an officer, but I received the reports and didn't find that anywhere. And during depositions took by my last defense attorney, Tom Murphy, he asked Detective C.E. Hogue, what's the report number? And instead of him answering, he intentionally speaks about who he thinks was in the car, and the attorney forgets to redirect him back to the question. Interesting. So a missing report, apparently, and this detective intentionally didn't answer the question or something. Lastly, in the search warrant, he says, referring back to the phone, inside the phone there is a picture of someone's lap with a keychain hooked to the belt loop and a holster he believes that is concealing a firearm. He testifies that this picture was took at Tamaya Bradley's house and is also the crime scene. When he realizes that he makes it seems like he's talking about two different photos, but when he gives a description, it's the same photo. He says in photo you can see a glove box, which is not true, and says it indicates the person who believes is me is sitting in the passenger seat of the vehicle. So this gives him a reason to believe that this is evidence of me being on the crime scene. Mr. Powell's phone was forensically examined pursuant to a search warrant, which provided additional evidence placing him at the scene of the crime. If you refer to the body cameras of the night of the arrest, you will see me and another individual being found lying on the ground with two phones in the vicinity unlocked. You will hear the officer who found us being told not to touch the phones as he tries to bring them to us, and you hear the officer who tells him not to touch the phone because it is evidence. Although he says this is because he sees the opportunity to go inside the phone and corrupt evidence. To bring my complaint to a conclusion, Your Honor, 80% of the body cam footage is destroyed due to the officers purposely covering them to hide the malicious acts and held us on the crime scene for hours while I watched them go through the phones and try to formulate a plan on how they were going to hit me with these charges and get search warrants for the phones that they already went through. I know that I'm being framed, Your Honor, just off the fact that Detective Saunders says in the arrest affidavit in the phone that the pings on the scene that he believes is mine. There's a picture I recently mentioned of a person's lap with a holster concealing a firearm in the passenger seat. This is all over the place. Okay, so he's saying, remember they got arrested after fleeing from the car, and both their phones were unlocked near them, him and LaCraca or whatever, which, by the way, his lawyers also filed a motion to suppress everything they found in this phone. I can read that in the next video, let me know. I can read more documents. There's a bunch of documents on this case. But he's saying they were in the phones looking at him already, searching through it. He said corrupt evidence. To bring the complaints. I mean, okay. Witness at the crime scene says they saw a suspect arm hanging out the window with a handgun, and the victim was murdered by a .40 caliber handgun. But what doesn't make sense as he testifies the gun being concealed in the photo was recovered at the arresting address 243 Arlington Road and is responsible for the death of Mr. Mays. But the firearm is documented as a Glock 9mm, which you wouldn't even need a forensic or ballistic report to prove this firearm isn't responsible, and Saunders knows that. So he's saying the firearms don't match what actually killed Mays. He's saying it's a 9mm versus a .40 caliber. So a witness saw an arm come out of the car. Wow. I wonder if they didn't cover up their arms and tattoos were shown or something. This witness must really remember what they were wearing or what they looked like. I don't know if they had masks on or not. Saunders knows this, but without saying this was a possible murder weapon, there's a strong possibility he would have never been able to get an arrest warrant with no material evidence, or he just wanted his case to look stronger than what it was. Either way, Your Honor, this violates my due process rights and my right to a fair trial, especially when the state plans on using the detective and his unit to testify against me in trial when they are corrupting this case. Saunders has been untruthful about witnesses' statements. There was no witness who saw a handgun out of a passenger window due to depositions, and he says Detective Garriga identified me as a passenger of the suspect vehicle when it fled, but Detective Garriga states that this isn't true. The only person he identifies is Loreno Span. Ooh, La Craca. So he's saying he was never identified in the car, even though he was arrested with Span after running from the car, but no one saw him in the car because it was dark out when they got arrested. So, Your Honor, please help me. I'm scared and my life is at risk. And I apologize if I made you feel threatened in any way, but I promise it wasn't a threat. I was only frustrated, and now my lawyer sent full reports on the firearm the detective says is the possible murder weapon, and to confirm that it isn't! Exclamation point. Also, my fingerprints nor DNA is on it. Your Honor, even when it comes down to the phone pinging, Saunders says it indicates that the phone is located in the parking lot of blank engineering across the street from the crime scene, which isn't true due to the deposition of Federal Bureau phone crime scene analysis. They state the towers doesn't give a direct location on the device, only a radius mileage. That's true. I mean, this is basically everything that he's gonna have to say in trial. Like, his lawyer's gonna have to get across. I mean, no fingerprints, no DNA, that's cool. But his lawyer's getting a report that the murder weapon isn't the murder weapon? Is that basically what he just said up there before? What? That's a red flag. The tower catches the ping is almost 200 miles away from the crime scene. What? And this phone could have been located anywhere at least 150 miles north of this crime scene. Okay, I don't know if that's true, right? Every trial I've seen of phone towers, the tower is very close to where the phone is pinging because there's like thousands of towers, right? With all this being said, Your Honor, I would like you to allow a suppression hearing or whatever hearing it would take to suppress at least the photo in the phone so the trial would be fair enough. It should be more suppressed. This is my only complaint. So the photo he's talking about too is, I guess there's a photo on his phone of a gun in his, waistband. And apparently the metadata is across the street or near the murder scene. So they're saying he took a photo while literally hunting the ops. That's what they're saying, right? But he's saying that wasn't actually the same gun and it wasn't the same location, I think. Now I have another letter here, 3 months later. Dear Honorable Judge Sharula, I'm writing you concerning an incident that happened in court on April 10th, 2024 in front of Judge Baez. I respectfully waited quietly for him to finish speaking before I raised my hand in court about an issue I wanted to address. When he allowed me to speak, I informed him as much as he would allow me to about how the lead detective in this case was intentionally trying to frame me along with tampering with evidence in this case and that I could prove it. His response that cut me off was, save it for trial. What did I say? I haven't read this one yet. I swear I've not read that one. Wow. Save it for trial. I knew the judge was going to say, I don't give a save it for trial. Before I could give any kind of rebuttal, he briefly announced he was passing the matter. I can honestly admit with no doubt this brought me frustration and made me say, this is crazy, quote unquote, under my breath and shake my head. Okay, so that's the threat that the judge didn't like. This is crazy, and he shook his head. While waiting, Judge Baez stared at me with a smirk and asked, that mark that you made under your breath, was that intended for me? At this point, I knew it was being integranized, and my response was, no, you would know. Uh-oh. Yikes. So now he's like snapping back at the judge. Oh no. Reflecting back on the situation, I realized it wasn't the best response to make, but Your Honor, considering 35 months that I've been in and out this courtroom, I have gave him nothing but the most upright respect. That was far from the first time I asked him to speak or being shot down while speaking for no fair or legal reason, and he still never had a problem with my behavior and respect in this courtroom. So for him to wait until 1 millisecond away from exiting the courtroom to stop me, where nobody could hear, and asked what it was intended for him, was an act of pushing my buttons on top of the fact that he smiled at me. A simple no sir would have took me a long way. Your Honor, I know, but instead I fell into his trap when he asked me for the second time, and I gave him the same response, no, you would know. He told me, okay, he'll see me soon, and a few hours later I was back in court. He said I was going to charge you with contempt to court, but I didn't see you being contempt on camera, but you made a remark on your breath and I didn't hear, but I'm taking it as a threat. He told the jail he recommended phone restrictions, but left the decision on my punishment to them. The jail decided to put me on phone restrictions and in the box for 23 hours a day with no intention of letting me out. Your Honor, this is cruel and unusual punishment for something I did not do. I'm going crazy not being able to talk to my family or not being able to access the cell more than one a day for an hour. Your Honor, even if you want to release me from confinement, lifting phone restrictions would be a blessing. I've been in here for 4 months, Your Honor, and I'm pleading for your mercy in any way you can. Wait, he's been in the confinement for 4 months with no phone restrictions? Oh my God, that is gnarly. I would go batshit crazy, bro. Like, I'm telling you guys straight up, bro. I'm not built for prison. That's why I'm a civilian. Hell nah.
Facts.
If I had to sit in a cell for 23 hours a day, I'd go batshit crazy. And that's why I'd snitch too. If I did something that I regretted, I'm snitching. I don't give a shit. I'm just kidding. Consider the fact that the following court date after the incident, Judge Bias addressed me saying he felt it wasn't truly being fair. The previous court date and gave me the opportunity to speak. I spoke with my lawyers before and they told me it wasn't the smartest decision, so I passed the opportunity and decided to write him instead. But my mail was being refused per the mail lieutenant because the lieutenant advised him not to receive any mail from me to the judge. So he never got it, and I doubt if this gets to you. But if it does, I pray that there's something you can do to help me. Jesus, they're just really shutting this motherfucker down, bro. They're not giving his mail. You can't send mail to anyone? He's been in confinement for 4 months. This is kind of fucked up. I mean, he's not guilty of murder yet. Everyone deserves a right to a fair trial. That's how this country works. Is there any evidence of him tampering with witnesses? I don't, like the Melly case, I understand, like, they gotta take his phone away because he apparently tampered with witnesses. Has this guy tampered with witnesses? I don't know. That seems kind of crazy. But he's saying he's being framed, so this is some serious shit. There's a bunch of documents I can read, by the way. The state filed a motion to include a bunch of gang shit, obviously, too, so I can read that. I can read the motion to suppress. Let me know. Hit subscribe. And yeah, if this goes to trial, I'll cover it. I don't know if it's gonna be streamed or not. Love you, boys. Peace out.
Well, that's the update on that. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links in my description. Go to my website, zodiacsunscnc.com. Also, check out my new song, Used to Be My HOE. Also, check out my other website, letsupyourgirl.gumroad.com. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links in my description. I am out.
It's my motherfucking time. It's my motherfucking time. Don't you see me right now, baby girl? I'm on the grind. I ain't really got no time to waste time. Baby, I'ma shine. I'ma shine. I'ma shine. I'ma shine. I'ma shine, shine, shine. I'ma shine, shine, shine. I'ma shine, shine, shine. I'ma shine, shine, shine. Steady on my grind, though. Hey, hey, hey. Don't be wasting my time. I'm steady on my grind, though. Hey, hey, hey. Don't be wasting my time. Throwing it back, just like that, just like that. She throwing it back, she throwing it back, just like that, just like.